friends. Welcome to a Monday evening. I'm going to tilt that back a bit. I'm seeing people already in the chat. Hello from all over. Cornwall, Boston, Manhattan, Chicago, Texas, near Boston, upstate New York, Phoenix, Hamburg, and Penticton. I've never heard of that place. It's in Canada. Los Angeles, North Carolina. It's lovely to have you here. And for our fourth History News Live of 2023 and our fourth in general History News Live. As usual, we're going to have some updates. I've then also segmented things off into a repatriations corner. We've got some new news and we've got some events and exhibitions, and I am going to really look forward to chatting all of this through with you. I have slides that I'm going to put up on the screen. I also have, because I've learned, because I can't see what is written when it's on the computer because the screen is small, so I also have my iPad in front of me so that it's big enough for me to see. I probably should go to an optician, but I haven't done that yet. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. I hope the start of your week, whatever time of day it is for you, has been going well. We had a rather taxing start of the day. My son has decided that sleep is for the weak, so it's been rough. I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna get through it. The current time here, Gift Sparks. I'm looking at my computer. It is 8:31 p.m. So evening time on Monday, and we are going to kick straight off. As per usual, I do have a bunch of thanks that I need to give out for people who very, very kindly sent me news items for this live stream. So thank you to Joe, to Intrepid Fraidy Cat, to Mary, to Anne, to Yvonne, to Julianne, to Heather, Beccy, Cave Felem, I think that's how that's pronounced, to Maia, to Aylaeh, thank you so much, and to Susan. Thank you for taking the time to find history news and also to send it my way. It really does mean ever so much that you think of me when you go about your days and see things that you think I might enjoy and that I can then chuck up on the screen for everybody. So without further ado, hello, lots of people in from Canada. Hello. Thank you, Hadrian Ryan. Lunchtime with Dr. Cat is the best part of Mondays. That's very kind of you. 3:32 in Ottawa p.m. I'm going to go with. I don't know. Hello, Justine. Hello, Amy. And hello, everybody who's coming in. Let's hop into our first news item. This is an update. This is actually an update from when I was doing pre-recorded news videos. This is the situation that's unfolding still with what's going on in the Ukraine and with what is potentially happening with their artwork. We have an allegation that Russian forces have looted tens of thousands of pieces, including oil paintings and Scythian gold. It's being referred to as the biggest art heist since the Nazis in World War II. And it is being alleged that this isn't just a kind of smash and grab. This is a concerted effort to strip Ukraine of its cultural heritage, that it's part of a propaganda mission or a desire to set things down, that essentially Ukraine is not a distinct territory from Russia with a distinct culture. We have this report. One morning in late October, Russian forces block off a street in downtown Kherson. They surround a building with dozens of soldiers. 5 trucks pull up, line of military vehicles, and then Russian agents start going into this art museum. It takes them 4 days, and it's alleged that the Kherson Regional Art Museum was cleaned out, with Russian forces, quote, bustling about like insects, porters wheeling out thousands of paintings, soldiers hastily wrapping them in sheets, art experts barking out orders, and packing material flying everywhere. When we first described and talked about what was going on in Ukraine, there was mention about the kidnapping of people who worked in museums. International art experts say the plundering may be the single biggest collective art heist since the Nazis pillaged Europe in World War II. This is an image, a photograph of the temporary director of the Curzon Museum looking at the cases. This is from December. So clearly there's been quite a bit stripped out there. We are hearing that it's affected more than 30 museums, several in Curzon, even though that was retaken in November. Others in basically places that remain under occupation are still affected. Ukrainian investigators are cataloguing the losses, the oil paintings, the steles, pots, coins, necklaces, busts, and it's thought that the number of stolen items is likely to grow. We are hearing that the plundering is not random or opportunistic misbehavior. Ukrainian officials and international experts say that there is a broadside attack on Ukrainian pride, culture, and identity, consistent with the imperial attitude of Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, who has consistently belittled the idea of Ukraine as a separate nation and has used that as a central rationale for his invasion. So it does feel like this is a concerted desire. They are accusing Russia, the Russian forces, of breaking international treaties that outlaw the looting of art. This came into force in the wake of World War II because of everything that happened there. And the treaty calls upon the signatories to, quote, prohibit, prevent, and if necessary, put a stop to any form of theft of cultural property. Both Ukraine and Russia did sign that. However, Russia has flipped the narrative and is presenting their actions not as a theft, but as a liberation. I mean, it's something that we have heard in response to questions about repatriation, that actually it's a protective method. We're being told not to panic. The Curzon's Russian-installed deputy administrator in October says that the statues that have disappeared would definitely return, and everything was being done for the benefit of preserving the historical heritage of the city of Curzon. The statues have not been returned, and the individual who made this point, Cyril Stremozov, was killed in a suspicious car crash. So there's that. We have an idea of the paintings that have gone. PK on the bank of the river by River Sunset, which is by miniaturist Ivan Noktikov. Autumn Time by Herhil Kurnikov. If I've butchered those names, I apologize. And these have shown up in a museum in Crimea. Pretty Pick asks, I wonder how many of these pieces are going to end up on the black market. Well, it's certainly a problem. I think certainly a potential, but it does seem like they're being, at least in this case, absorbed into a museum in the Crimea. So they are being essentially absorbed as Russian culture. The director of the museum says, we have 10,000 pieces and we are inventorying them. He said his museum was keeping the collection for its own protection. I'm seeing lots of people. We're protecting this art from us. Yes, that's how it works, apparently. Right, they're being held for their own protection. We totally believe you, Russia. I mean, heavy use of allegedly liberating them from what? You're the reason they are under threat. I mean, there is no disagreement. No disagreement. I think over the weeks and months that we've had these kinds of discussions, this is obviously, no one's going to be surprised that I think this is utterly reprehensible and infuriating and just generally irritating. and I hope there are sanctions. It makes me very cross. I am seeing some conversation about asking me to do videos about the Boleyns. Definitely up for that. Right now, though, I would like to keep the chat focused on the news items. Just because with my dyslexia, I find it quite hard to keep track of things and the chat jumps. So if we can just stick to what we're discussing today, that would be ace. Thank you very much. A slightly less annoying, in fact, a much happier update is one we were discussing this. In Pompeii, there were talks of a robot dog, and I was very kindly sent a link to an article about said robot dog. This is Spot the dog. Isn't Spot lovely? And Spot is used to identify safety and structural issues, including tunnels that are dug by relic thieves. I forgot to mention, I have put all of the links to all the articles we're looking at today in the description box. It's already there. There's also a link to an opera pinboard, which has all of the articles in there too, in order, with some pictures. On top of that, what was I going to say? So we've got the opera pinboard, we've got the articles in the description box, so they are all there, and it's also got the opera pinboard has the credit for who sent me each individual item. In some cases, more than one person sent me these items, so they are listed all there. What is this? Intrepid Fraidy Cat. Interesting fact, most people aren't aware that the Vesuvius eruption date was changed from August to October 79 AD. What? Why? How? Did we misunderstand it, or is this a calendar change? Is this a Gregorian thing? Interesting. Oh, you've told me why. They had to reassess it because a wall graffiti dated from October 17th was found in a 2018 excavation. Thank you for that additional information. How cool. This is the thing. Nothing is true. It's only temporarily valid, particularly when it comes to history. Anybody who thinks that they know the answer and they know that there is one interpretation and they try and tell you that, they are either lying to themselves or to you, and either way they're probably a fairly rubbish historian. That's my two penneth. Anyway, next article, another update we have, and it's on this little bad boy. It's about what's going on in Detroit, and if you were expecting there to be some clarification as to what the can't swear has gone on behind the scenes with this, I am sorely disappointed, as are you. So what we have is a federal judge dismissing the lawsuit to seize this Van Gogh painting from the Detroit Institute of Arts in order to give it back to its purported owner in Brazil. We have here the lawyer from the art gallery pointing out that the person trying to claim this back hasn't reported the artwork as stolen or notified the FBI. What is going on? Okay, so he doesn't explain why he didn't do anything for the last 5 years to recover the painting. What is this about? I am utterly baffled. The lawyers for the person claiming the piece has criticised the museum for shielding the identity of the art collector who loaned them the painting. Isn't it the same person who ran off with it? Surely, but you're not naming who you left it with. What is going on? I don't understand. There's another article here. That this is a later article. So there's an ongoing court battle as we see about the novel reader, the 1888 work. And now it seems that although they haven't seized it, they have said that the DIA has to hold on to it. So, right, okay. We've got this private unnamed collector in Sao Paulo who loaned the piece. This is so weird. The DIA also noted that the painting has not been reported anywhere as stolen or missing, despite Sotter's claim that he purchased it for $3.7 million in 2017 and now estimates to be worth $5 million. Because the court cannot grant the ultimate relief sought by the plaintiff, the lawsuit will be dismissed. A motion for a temporary restraining order and possession was also denied. But Stair had previously temporarily barred them from moving the painting, which led to them posting a guard beside it as visitors flocked through the exhibition in its final days. So there's the guard, I'm assuming, in that picture. So the exhibition was in the DIA, which is closed until Friday, well, last Friday, to give the staff time to rest and recover from the intense. Now, this is where I kind of go. The intense crowd demands of the exhibition. They've responded to the new court order with a statement, quote, "The DIA will fully comply with the order from the US Court of Appeals regarding the custody of the novel reader and will be responding on January 30th to the plaintiff's recent pleading. The DIA will have no further comment prior to a ruling by the court." And if you just look down below, more, another little link, DIA Van Gogh exhibit nearly sold out as guard watches over alleged stolen painting. Am I a conspiracy nut, a conspiracy theorist, if I say this is a fraudulent lawsuit that the DIA is in on? So there would be publicity drummed up for a sellout exhibition. Is that daft? Is that like a really daft idea? Or because none of this makes sense. Nobody is being named as a potential thief from either side. So nobody is being implicated in this. There's two wronged parties and an anonymous person who's done it all. Is this about ticket sales? Allegedly? I didn't say that. It's allegedly. Allegedly. Maybe there will be a further update. It's weird, right? It's not just me. It's weird. How could you not report it if you want it back? Provide proof of purchase. You're telling me you bought something for $1,000 and don't have a receipt, and you don't seem to notice when it goes missing. I've heard more unrealistic conspiracies. Yeah, me too. Me too. Cartoon character, not me. Does like a publicity stunt when no one's being named. Right. If I've called this right, then I'm pretty smart. Sign me up for the FBI. They won't have me. This is an allegedly. Allegedly, that is what's happening. Could be. Who would have thought the same thing? Well, we're all in it together. Maybe we've become a hive mind. We've become a little hive mind. The owner might want to stay anonymous for personal reasons. Well, what, the owner who's lent it? Because this dude's claiming he's the owner. So, you point out if the honest person is truly the owner, well, in which case this would be settled very quickly because they would have the provenance to be like, I don't know who this dude is, but I own it. That ain't happening. What? Okay, let's hop on. This is I'm hoping that there's going to be a further update on this because I am baffled by what is going on. What's one more? Wouldn't the provenance say who the owner? You would think. You would think that we are talking about millions of dollars. Like where are you back? I mean, unless this is money laundering and they're cleaning their money through it, allegedly. But normally there would be a trail of money that points out that you have spent millions of dollars on a painting that proves you own it, right? Right? I don't know. I don't know. Could they do a DNA test because the owners would have touched it? Yeah, but by this point, of course, it's been touched by all and sundry and mundry and Tuesday, putting it up. Although you're probably supposed to use glovies. I don't know. I mean, you have got a point here. That never happens in the art world. It is allegedly, seemingly, a great way to clean your money. Anywho, let's hop to something, a mystery that may have had some answers. There has been such an enormous response to this sandstone carving puzzle, the one we talked about last week. And archaeologists here have been inundated with ideas about what this carving is. So, two archaeologists say they've been inundated with suggestions. It was found last summer, and they asked the public for ideas about what is going on. They have had replies from as far afield as America. I do wonder how many of you filled in and responded. I hope some of you did. So what we have is the suggestions that they need to rotate the stone, and it could potentially represent a pregnant woman. Others have suggested the character is holding a weapon, others a tool of some description, even that it may be an archer. So they've previously told the BBC that the carvings look to be a figure with 4 horns and 2 arms, but the team has struggled to work out when and why it was created. It's worth noting, this is a quote, it's also worth noting that Nestcliff, which is where this was found, lies within the putative territory of the Cornovi, and that's a name that has been suggested to reference the horned ones. Perhaps they use some kind of ceremonial helmet, because as we know, nobody is wearing horned helmets into battle. They are a terrible idea that would not be remotely defensive or protective. It would be a way for a sword to repeatedly bash you on the head. Same thing, tangent, same thing goes with when you see ladies in armor in video games and films and they have molded boobies. Nay, absolutely not. That, having worn a chest protector with a mold element to it, all that does is go and just slam you in the heart. What you want is something that sits as a flat thing, has space, but has a flat thing. Anyway, that's a tangent that I've gone on. This may happen more. The archaeologist plans to secure funds to examine the stone in more detail and will return to the site in July with an invitation for people to attend an open weekend event. If this is the case, when this is announced, I will, of course, put this online. It'll be part of the events. I will announce it. I'm going to keep an eye out. Everybody else, please also keep an eye out. If you spot it, this weekend event, do send it my way. I'm going to also have a look. Thank you, Rebecca, for the. I am pleased you enjoyed the tangent. It's very likely that it will happen again, particularly when it comes to arms and armour. They have said it would be lovely to meet some of the people who have messaged with their theories and share our findings with those who share our interests. One more. The boo plate is so horrible, I can't imagine the chafing. I mean, as quick other tangent, as with all armour, you don't. The same thing with corsetry, you don't ever wear it close to your skin. Armour sits on top of a gambeson or padded jacket, and that's the same for mail as well. So it's you're padded in with, and when you are in that in the height of summer daily, it's like a duvet. It never dries out. So those things can stand up by themselves by the end of things. I learned that from doing historical interpretation. The gambesons are rank. Those are the updates. Now we are hopping over to hang on one second. Sorry, Shane. Was there any update on the robbery at Arundel? Not that I've seen. I have been keeping an eye out. Past the fact that they found the ladders, to my knowledge, we haven't found any. We haven't found the rosary. We haven't. I don't think anybody's been charged. I will have another look. I was looking periodically, but I haven't seen any further update. As I said, I think, unfortunately, my hope is that it's been taken by somebody who wanted it to keep, and that potentially if they pass away, when individuals are going through their stuff, their collection, it will be spotted and then come back out and we will recognise it for what it is. But yeah, unfortunately, Shane, no, there hasn't been an update on this. We are going to now hop into Repatriation's Corner. Here we go. So this is a story about a Jewish family who were fleeing Germany in 1938, who sold this Picasso, which comes from his blue period. It's a woman ironing. The heirs want it back. It's at the centre of a lawsuit, this painting, between the heirs of the person who sold it and New York's Guggenheim Museum. The heirs of Carl Adler and Rosie Jacoby want the repatriation of this 1904 masterpiece, A Woman Ironing. They claim it was sold under duress because these individuals were having to sell everything to get out of Germany. The lawsuit filed in Manhattan Supreme Court says that the work was acquired in 1916 from a Munich gallery owner, and then it was sold well below value back to that gallery owner's son. And they sold it back in 1938 for a reduced amount than it was worth. They needed large cash amounts to obtain short-term visas during their exile in Europe. So they're essentially on the run, not knowing how they can survive. So they're just liquidating everything. So the heirs of these people claim that this son was essentially profiteering from the misfortune of this German Jewish family. And they allege that this dealer was well aware of the plight that this family was going through and essentially would have known that they would never have intended to have sold it unless they had been under duress. And if they had sold it at that, it wouldn't have been at that time, and it certainly wouldn't have been for that price. I think, frankly, it's a highly compelling argument. It's a fire sale where everything must go to try and save people's lives. So I think I have a lot of sympathy for it. The Guggenheim told CNN, which is where this came from, that, quote, this is literally, they should put this on T-shirts. It takes provenance matters and restitution claims extremely seriously, but believes this suit is without merit. They say that the sale of the painting was a fair transaction between parties with a long-standing and continuing relationship. The museum added, the extensive research conducted by the Guggenheim since first being contacted by an attorney representing these claimants demonstrates that the Guggenheim is the rightful owner of the painting. I can understand they have to make this argument. They have the museum has to, but I think I'd be surprised if there weren't plenty of people that agreed that this had merit. And I agree. Our favourite DA Bragg. I feel like he should have his own TV show where he like scoots over the bonnet of a car and he's like, let's save art. The thing is, I checked his website because I wanted to find a way to, I don't know, phone him, email him, be like, you are my hero. And what's incredible is that I would have thought that all of the art stuff would be front and centre in what he's achieved. Not even a sausage, not a whisper, not so much other stuff. This guy must never sleep. He must, and he must also have an incredible team. Amazing. Legally, I'm not surprised. Unfair though. That's the thing. I think they have to, because of their donors and shareholders, they have to make the legal challenge. They have to say put a pushback. I get that. But I kind of hope it doesn't stand up for them. I hope that they are forced to return it. Right, another repatriation. So artist Michael Rakowitz calls for the British Museum to return an Assyrian sculpture in exchange for his work. And his work featured on the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square, which for, I can't even remember how many years, has been sort of opened out to various artists. It's had kind of rolling things put on. I'm not sure how long they stay there for, but yeah, so that's pretty interesting. This is he's an Iraqi-American artist, and he's called upon the British Museum to return an artifact to Iraq in exchange for the donation of a large-scale work by him. And this is also something that modern-day artists in Benin, who are practicing very similar, if not the same skills as their ancestors did to create Benin bronzes, artists in Nigeria, the old kingdom of Benin, they have made similar offers that if they would, they would swap out old for new. Similar techniques are used, but of course they are forced to look at exhibition catalogues to see the cultural heritage of the work they're making, which I don't think is particularly fair. We are told that this proposal is going to be addressed in a forthcoming visit between Iraq's Culture Ministry and British officials in London next month, which is during a scheduled British Museum tour. People are just turning up to be like, yep, that's mine. That's mine. We'll be having that back. It's people are diplomats from all the nations that have been robbed by the British Empire just turning up and being like, where's my post-it note? That's coming home with us. That's ours. Yoink. They've just got one of those yellow stickers going boop, 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 mine. And they aren't wrong. So this is a 2018 Fourth Plinth Commission in Trafalgar Square to the Tate Modern, which is a British Museum affiliate overseen by the UK government. I think because it's modern art, it potentially wouldn't fit with the British Museum collection. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. I'm going to put the post up that made me laugh, because otherwise it looks like I'm laughing at the notion of repatriation. I mean, I think I feel the same. Of course, this is clearly satire. D.A. Bragg is not punching anybody in the face, because he is a wonderful human. I almost want to go there and just shake the man's hand. So it will be in the Tate Modern, and this is in exchange for the latter sharing ownership of an Assyrian artifact with Iraq. He's been exploring this exchange since 2020, and apparently it's moving close to becoming a reality. We've heard this stuff before. We have looked at them saying, yes, let's enter discussions. Let's see what's going to happen. They've done this with quite a few items. I will believe it when I will believe that when something is either on the boat or on the plane going back. That's when I'll believe there's going to be a repatriation or a loan. Justine, you are talking about the Stone of Scone, or the Stone of Destiny, and that was returned to Scotland. Forget the date, but it was returned to Scotland. It used to sit underneath the coronation throne in Westminster Abbey. It has been returned. At least we think it's been returned, because it was stolen, and the version that was reclaimed was returned. Whether or not that's the real version is another question. There are some debate over it, but allegedly it is back in Scotland. I did see some rumours that it might be brought down for the coronation in May. I would be wildly surprised if that happened, but I guess we shall see. Further repatriation news. A Herculean fresco is among looted relics that was returned to Italy from the US. Can you guess where they were held? Ding-a-ling-a-ling. So 60 artifacts among more than 250 that have been returned to Italy from the US in the last year. Prosecutors in New York, including our favourite dude, seized the items from private collections, auction houses and museums. Although for the latest returns, they would not specify the precise locations, owing to continuing investigations into other stolen works. So D.A. Bragg and also Bogdanos said his team managed to seize and repatriate the fresco within a matter of months. Italy's culture minister is obviously very happy. This is a great success against illicit trafficking. What we are presenting today is the result of international cooperation, but much still needs to be done on this front. Some of the artifacts have been put on display in Rome's Museum of Rescued Art, which opened last summer. So there's so much stuff. They've opened their own museum. He said there are many more loot antiquities around the world, so many more looters and smugglers and criminals that have to be stopped, and it's our sworn duty to do that. Because as we sit here right now, enjoying this moment, somewhere in Italy, something is being stolen. It's just this. Why is there not already a film about this? This is like so exciting. Maybe it's just me. This article, this news story went all over, understandably. So we have another publication. US authorities return antiquities worth $19 million, we're told, including 27 objects seized from the Met. Shocker. Skipping to the next one. So this is a name we've heard a few times. This is Michael Steinhardt, the billionaire who amassed a hoard of plundered relics, including the Herculaneum fresco. So some people are announcing what's going on. He bought that for $650,000 in '95. There's been a multi-year investigation. We have spoken about that quite a lot, and he has agreed to a lifetime ban from acquiring antiquities in 2021. And here we have a quote from our favourite, my hero and yours, Alvin L. Bragg Jr., Manhattan District Attorney. These 58 pieces represent thousands of years of rich history, yet traffickers throughout Italy utilize looters to steal these items and to line their own pockets. For far too long, they have sat in museums, homes, and galleries that had no rightful claim to their ownership. Just... with this latest repatriation, Italy's culture minister has said that Italian cultural authorities are contemplating returning the artifacts to museums located close to where they were excavated, but at the moment they are in a special exhibition of recovered objects, which is the Museum of Rescued Art, which was inaugurated last year. So they may stay there or they may go back to where they came from. And there's a part of me that thinks that for at least a little bit of time, keeping all of the hoarded loot together in one place, but in its country of origin, is a useful way to point out that this has happened, and to get people to bear witness. So we have got lots of love for D.A. Bragg. He walked with his own theme song band. It's just, he for sure does. He for sure does. And he needs his own awesome theme with electric guitars. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have more. This is a picture from the Miss Universe swimsuit competition. This is the Greek candidate. There is some cape part of the competition in swimsuits. I will acknowledge that I know very little about beauty pageants. They are a thing here, but not really. But this appears to be a swimsuit competition with a cape involvement, and there's lots of political messages across these, but this one is the Greek competitor in Miss Universe, and we have the Parthenon sculptures on display and a very clear sign, "Take me home," which yes, I could not agree more. I have been trying to see what's the updates might be on this situation with the Parthenon marbles, the meetings that are going on. We still seem to be in a pretty much stalemate position from my knowledge, hoping that we're going to see some movement one way or another, or at least know what they've actually talked about. This is another article that I was sent from ProPublica, and this is the first article, is the first time I've come across this publication, and I really do enjoy their content. So I think I would like to. I haven't read loads from the publication, so I don't want to endorse everything they put out, but I really enjoy the level of detail. These are long reads, so I'm not going to go through everything now because frankly it could be a whole hour video just looking at the stuff they've unearthed, and also it's somebody else's research and work that they've clearly worked really hard on. So I'm going to flag this up. It's linked in the description box. It's also going to be linked on the Opera pin board. I will show a few excerpts from it, but yeah, check them out and have a look at this article. Every day when Logan Pappenfort is at work, he tries not to dwell on what's under his feet. Beneath the south wing of the museum, where he's interim director, are the remains of at least 234 of his ancestors. For more than 800 years, they laid undisturbed, carefully buried inside a mound of earth overlooking a quiet valley and a slow river. Then, in the 1920s, a chiropractor named Don Dixon dug open the mound, eventually exposing the remains of hundreds of Native Americans. He left them in place, and his family turned the excavation into a roadside attraction they called Dixon Mounds. They charged visitors 50 cents for admission. In 1945, the state of Illinois purchased the site and later expanded it into a museum. The exposed human remains were used for decades to teach school children, visitors, and local residents about what the museum presented as a long gone culture of Illinois Indians. The exhibit closed in the early 1990s, which is too late, after Congress passed legislation requiring museums to begin returning Native American human remains. But okay, I would just say that the mound is, where are you returning them to? Take down the building and go away. Maybe I'm missing the point. So contractors installed cedar floorboards over the pit. They left no doorway, no hatch. The remains at Dixon Mounds Museum, which is a branch of Illinois State Museum, account for a sliver of all the Native American human remains still in the hands of the state of Illinois. Federal records show that the Illinois State Museum has reported that it holds the remains of at least 7,000 Native Americans. In 3 decades, it has returned only 2% of them, 156 individuals, to tribal nations who could claim them under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. That is among the lowest return rates in the country. This publication has found that the museum avoided repatriating any remains dating before 1673, when the European records of the era began, which marks the start of what archaeologists call the historic era. They believe that anything older than that could not be traced to living people and therefore could not be repatriated. The decisions were based solely on geographic, scientific, and historical evidence, including maps and journals. In its initial inventory, the museum declared that 98.4% of the Native American remains in its collections were culturally unidentifiable, and after completing required tribal consultations in the mid-1990s, it did close to nothing to advance repatriations for more than 20 years. Instead, ProPublica found that the museum prioritised the scientific study of Native American human remains over their return. I mean, I don't have words. I will always be of the position that, and I nothing has shaken me from this increasingly, that human remains don't belong in museums. They don't belong in cabinets. And I know that people may disagree with that, and I do mean all human remains, from bog bodies to skeletonized to all the way up to particularly things like body worlds. I have questions about what happens if somebody donates their body, what that means. I have big questions about it, but this feels just aggressively wrong. Aggressively wrong. And these mounds are sort of like the US version of mummy unwrapping. People would go together to loot these mounds. I just, the kind of sideshow freak show element of it, kind of roll up, come and see this opened mound, is just not the one for me. The thing I think as well about body worlds is that, to my knowledge, either that one allegedly or its imitators, there was a lot of questions about where those bodies actually came from, including, and Caitlin, Ask a Mortician, talks about this, that I believe that there was some intimation that actually they were in fact the remains of Chinese political or state prisoners. So now we're going to hop on to the new news, because do you know what? The Repatriations Corner just makes my temples pulsate in a way that's probably not healthy for my blood pressure. So let's hop to the new news. We have the news about a discovery of an obsidian hand axe making workshop from 1.2 million years ago that has been discovered in Ethiopia. This does push back our understanding and our time frame as to when these sorts of tools are being made by quite a considerable amount. We have the Stone Age lasting approximately 2.6 million years, from 2.6 million years ago to approximately 3,300 BCE, at which point the Bronze Age began. Workshops developed as the developed as tool making evolved into a skill. Individuals who developed such skills worked together in workshops to crank out enough of whatever tools were needed by those in general areas. One such tool was the hand axe, which could be used obviously for chopping, but also as a weapon. They are made by knapping stones, so chipping bits off of the stone to make a sharp edge. They are not attached to anything, so you don't have, it's not an axe with a handle. You hold it and use it like that. So we have flint first and then obsidian, which is a type of volcanic glass. In modern times, we are told that obsidian is a difficult material to work with because it's so rough on the hands. Researchers on this project have found that an obsidian hand axe knapping workshop established far earlier than one has ever seen before. Pretty pick. I've heard the Stone Age was a rocky time to be alive. Babe. Chef's kiss. Well done. So the researchers working at this dig site found a hand axe buried in a layer of sediment. They found 578 in total, and all but 3 had been made of obsidian. Dating the material around the axes showed them to be from approximately 1.2 million years ago. They've all been crafted in a similar manner, indicating that the researchers had found an ancient knapping workshop. This is the oldest known example of such a workshop, and it's the first of its kind in Europe. Researchers note that this work was done so long ago that they are not even able to identify the hominids that made them. So I'm taking that to mean the categorization of the species of human on its road to evolution. This is so far out of my period of history and understanding that I don't know who comes after whom. So I'm just going to admit that this is really, really old. It's very old, and it's very cool, but I'm not going to pretend to know stuff. This I have heard, so I'm going to say that. Obsidian is the inspiration for dragon glass. I have heard that. The volcanic glass factor makes some connection there. Also, I believe there was I saw a documentary about a Mayan civilization that put obsidian into like bats and smacked each other about with it. Like as a war thing, because the obsidian would come out of the bat, and so it would be lodged in your self. Oh, gross. Oh, fortunately, it seems like our understanding of our lineage is fluid anyway. Yes, because we are still trying to find the aquatic ape, maybe theory. Correct? Have I missed some news? I think so. My husband was an anthropologist, so he knows lots about this, and he does explain it, but it's very much not my area of study. What was that? What does that mean? I think I saw an article about obsidian surgical tools being able to cut between that. If I don't, for some reason, I don't like that. I don't even know why, but it makes me feel squicky. And you have also seen these Mayan war clubs, Aztec Mayan war clubs. I can't. Yes, it might have been Aztec and or Mayan, and they look utterly upsetting and terrifying. It's like being hit with a glass cactus, and the cactusy bits are going to stick in your butt. No, thank you, not today. We have this is an abstract from an open access journal, and the abstract is as follows. The article is open access, so it's downloadable. It's linked, of course. This work examines the possible behaviour of Neanderthal groups in central Spain via the analysis of the latter's archaeological assemblage. So this is stuff that they are doing. They have collected together mammalian bone remains dominated by the crania of large ungulates. I don't know what they are. big mammals. Some associated with small hearths. The scarcity of postcranial elements, teeth, mandibles, and maxilla, along with the evidence of anthropogenic modification of the cranium, so cut and percussion marks. So they've thank you. So it's a deer skulls. Thank you very much. Very good. This is the shared knowledge. I saw a big word that I've never seen before. These carcasses of corresponding animals were processed outside of the cave, and then the skulls are brought inside the caves. Apparently, ungulates are hoof mammals. So maybe interesting. Excellent. So then a second round of processing takes place, possibly the removal of the brain, and the continued presence of crania throughout level 3 indicates that this, and that's the level 3 of the soil I'm going to go with, indicates that this behavior was recurrent during this level's formation. This behavior seems to have no subsistence-related purpose, so it's not for food, but it is more symbolic in its intent. So I think, friends, we have once again ritual purposes. Check out the article. Maybe I did try and read it. I'm not going to lie. I had some problems. It was terminology that I found quite confusing. But interesting, nevertheless. They are doing things with skulls. Archaeologists have found a 11,000-year-old human remains inside a British cave. This has unearthed, as part of this, they've unearthed a periwinkle shell bead and human remains that date from 11,000 years ago during the early Mesolithic, a period where Homo sapiens, or modern humans, were the only hominid species to still survive in the British Isles. They found 8 burials in the cave, 7 of which have been dated by researchers using radiocarbon dating. They found that this cave was used for burials at 3 different periods, so from around 4,000 years ago in the early Bronze Age, 5,500 years ago early Neolithic, and 11,000 years ago during the very early part of the Mesolithic. We have a quote: "This is a fantastic discovery. We've been delighted to confirm Martin's unbelievable find dates back around 11,000 years ago and gives us clear evidence of Mesolithic burials in the north. This is particularly exciting as these are some of the earliest dates for human activity in Britain after the end of the last ice age." I'm seeing some comment about hashtag ritual purposes, and I have one thing, a suggestion. I cannot support this message. There are going to be things that come up in these lives that are not suitable for a drinking game or some form of drinking bingo. Please take care of yourselves. Don't take shots when I say things on repeat, because I am frightened for your liver, and at ritual purposes might be an issue. That is true. They I mean, I'm sure once they figure out that they are from long ago rather than from more recently, because that becomes more problematic. Justine's asking if they could potentially do Jurassic Park stuff. I really hope not. I think that's not in any way an aspirational film. That's a warning that just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. We need Dr. Cat After Dark. This is a reference to History After Dark, which will be happening on Wednesday. Do you know what? You can find me on History After Dark. I never know what you can get away with on YouTube, and I don't want them to start hiding my content again. So I'm going to do my very best not do the swears. A couple have almost already slipped out today. So I'm really proud of myself for not doing expletives, because that is my natural state. Very sweary. 5,000-year-old tavern discovered in an archaeological dig. We've been talking about drinking, and thus we have found what we found. This is in southern Iraq. They found a public eating space that dates back to 2700 BCE. Amy, yes, I talked about the Irish giant going home last week. Well, not going home, but coming off of display, and the question about whether they should be removed from the museum or not. So yes, I did see that, and we talked about it last week. And I think that the beliefs and wishes of that person should be followed, and they should be put in a burial at sea. I've just seen a text come up from my husband on my phone who has said that Jurassic Park is the roadmap for the future. So we're going to have a conversation over dinner about why he is not in charge of stuff. A team of researchers studying the archaeological site of Lagash, I think that's how you pronounce that, I probably did this wrong, of southern Iraq, have uncovered a public eating space, as we said, that dates back to 2700 BCE. The area is replete with benches, a type of clay refrigerator known as a zir, an oven, and storage containers, many of which still contain food. How cool is that? Jamie, if you're listening, we have this response to you. Mr. Dr. Cat, no. There you go. You have been informed. And we also have, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. There we go. Interesting in a conversation. It's pretty much standard. Everyone's saying we all love going out, drinking, having fun. Do you know what, Justine? I think that's a really good point. We always talk about the past being another country, and to a certain extent, I think we have to bear it in mind, but I think we should never let it be the overriding comment that we make about the past, because the past, in some ways, is another country, but people are driven by very similar things. We are, for the most part, creatures that crave community, that crave acceptance. We are creatures that love the people we love, want the best for them. We want food in our bellies, a roof over our head, and we want our kids to be safe. And I don't think that has changed for millions of years. I want an ancient version of diners, drive-ins, and dives. Let's pitch it. We can go to the food places in Pompeii. We can do this. Ding-a-ling. Let's do it. The tavern was discovered during an excavation which sought items illustrating what life was like in the urban neighbourhood. The site was a major political, economic, and religious importance. However, we also think that Lagash was a significant population centre that had ready access to fertile land and to people dedicated to intensive craft production. So this is essentially a place where people who have been doing their crafts or working in the fields, they go and they sit down and they share a meal and they share alcohol, maybe, and they share company, sat on benches all together. So that's pretty much the Flintstones. I mean, you are not wrong. I like it. I like it a lot. This one, I got sent this news items related to this. There's a bunch of them, so it's available on a variety of sources. Brian, yes, a pub. So I think a pub, but mayhap, a gastropub with nice food. It's not just your regular run of the mill boozer where they don't clean the lines enough. Nay, there's going to be food as well. Egypt unveils tomb statues and a gold-covered mummy after the excavation of the necropolis near the Saqqara pyramids. Yes, I see you, Justine. We have a mummy completely covered in gold among dozens of new archaeological discoveries unveiled by Egypt just outside the capital of Cairo. There's been a year-long excavation of the pharaonic necropolis, and they were found beneath ancient stone enclosures near the Saqqara pyramids. They date back to the 5th and 6th dynasties of the Old Kingdom. One of the uncovered tombs belongs to a priest from the 5th dynasty. I'm not even going to attempt do promote or pronounce that. I don't know how one would. I haven't Googled it. I must. And the other tomb belonged to an official named Mary, who was a palace official who held the name Keeper of the Secrets, which is, I want that to be my official name. They also found statues, amulets, and a well-preserved sarcophagus. The other news piece that's been connected to this is that scientists at Cairo University have revealed CT scans of a mummified teenage boy. Now, there are versions of the pictures of this scan where you can see the remains. As I said, I'm not showing human remains. So what we have here is the sarcophagus. This golden boy found covered in 49 precious amulets. This boy, who died 2,300 years ago, mummified and adorned with 49 protective amulets and a golden mask. They found the amulets placed on and inside the body of the mummified golden boy when they used computerized tomography scans to unwrap the remains. His remains were found inside 2 nested coffins. The outer coffin was plain and inscribed with Greek letters. The inner wooden sarcophagus bore patterns and a gilded face. 49 amulets with 21 different designs, including the golden tongue placed inside the mouth, a golden heart scarab located in the chest, which the ancient Egyptians believed could aid in transition to the afterlife. It's thought that he died when he was about 14 or 15 years old. He also wore a gilded head mask inlaid with stones and a protective covering called a cartonnage across his torso. Organs have been removed with the exception of his heart and his brain replaced with resin. So the professor of the Faculty of Medicine at the Cairo University has said, here we show that this mummy's body, mummified remains, was extensively decorated with 49 amulets, beautifully stylized in a unique arrangement of 3 columns between the folds and wrappings inside the mummy's body cavity. These include the Eye of Horus, the scarab, the Unket amulet of the horizon, the placenta, the knot of Isis, and others. Many were made of gold and some were made of semi-precious stones, fired clay, or faience, which I'm not quite sure what that is. Their purpose was to protect the body and give it vitality in the afterlife. He had white sandals on his feet and his body was wreathed with ferns. He has a gold scarab beetle over his heart. He still has his human heart. They removed all of his organs with the exception of his heart, and they replaced his brain with resin. So they've put the heart back in. I'm wondering if they preserved it in some way, if it's still there. And this we have. This is a type of enamel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kathleen, I believe not an actual placenta. I believe it's a cartouche or a stone bearing the placenta. Thank you, Brian, saying I should be on TV. I have been on a couple of times. Maybe I will be some more. I do like being on the telebox. People talking about how parents would be devastated to bury their child. I think that's one of the things people always say, oh, people in the past didn't care as much as they was hyped for mortality. I don't think that's true. I haven't seen that they determine the cause of death. I will have another check and look. So I will see if I could find it. So Egyptians believe that the heart was the seat of knowledge and the soul, so it stayed in the body, unlike the other organs. But did they preserve it? They must have. There must have been a preservation technique. Otherwise, surely, or would the rest of the preserving have had the effect? Questions. I have questions. So was the heart? So I've heard about canopic jars. I've heard about those, and I know that they are preserving. So they preserve the heart in a canopic jar, and then what? I'm going to look this stuff up. I'm going to have a little look at what went on with this one. Thank you. I know that, yes, the canopic jars go in the tomb with the body, but it seems to be saying here that his heart wasn't removed from his chest cavity. So does that mean it's in a canopic jar, having been taken out, preserved, and put back in? Interesting. I like it. We have an ancient Roman residence with pigeon towers discovered in Luxor, Egypt. So this is the archaeological dig site. We have archaeologists discovered a residential area in Luxor dating to the time when the Roman Empire ruled Egypt. This residential area is close to Luxor Temple, a large religious centre built during the reigns of several pharaohs before the Roman Empire, including Amenhotep III, Ramses II, and Tutankhamun. But the residential area dates to much later, during the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, CE, and during this time Egypt is a Roman province, and Roman emperors are sometimes depicted as pharaohs. This is on the heart. Rituals could have gone in and out of fashion with respect to mummification, as with all things human. Yes, and we do see as they and within Egypt, as different deities take precedence and preference, things do alter in that way. Oh, hang on. There we go. Mustafa Warizi, who I think has the name, gives his name to the thing that was found last week, the roll. The roll that was found last week. So he is the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, and he says that the city is the oldest and most important city found on the eastern bank of Luxor. The discovery is being praised as a rare find in an already excellent season. We have learned a lot about it. We've seen quite a few. There's been lots of rich finds, and this discovery follows the uncovering of a number of tombs. This is useful because these discoveries does come just ahead of the long-awaited opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo later this year. To my knowledge, we don't have a month just yet. Yes, I believe the pigeon coops were for people to eat the pigeons. They were food. So this museum is going to display many of the country's ancient riches, and this is, of course, going to boost tourism following the pandemic, because obviously a massive draw for people going to Egypt is being able to see the wonderful things. Tourism is same with London. We're seeing the risk of museums closing in the UK, because tourism is the lifeblood. These are fabulous. Look at them. Look at them. Roman bathers lost gems 2,000 years ago, and they've been found again near Hadrian's Wall. They fell down the drain at an ancient pool, it's thought, and they've been uncovered by archaeologists in Carlisle, so near Hadrian's Wall. What they think has happened is people took their rings and jewellery with them to the swimming baths. Hot water, hot steam rooms, etc. And the paste that held the gems in the place of rings would loosen, and so the gem would fall out, and then during cleaning these gems would end up going down the drain. These were engraved gems. They are barely a few millimeters in diameter, and they bear images whose extraordinary craftsmanship suggests they would have been expensive items in their day. One bather lost an amethyst depicting Venus, and holding either a flower or a mirror. Another lost a red-brown jasper featuring a satyr seated on rocks next to a sacred column. Unsurprisingly, the person who's leading the bathhouse excavation said that it's incredible. I think absolutely correct. It's called Everyone's Imagination. They were just falling out of people's rings who were using the bath. They're set with vegetable glue, and in the hot and sweaty bathhouse, they'd fall out of the ring settings. I mean, I think you'd only wear a ring there once, wouldn't you? You would learn your lesson fairly quickly. So this bathhouse, we learn, is adjacent to one of the most important forts on Hadrian's Wall, which is Roman Empire's most northern frontier. So it's an elite cavalry unit with links to the imperial court. There's more excavations that are due to take place, but this bathhouse complex, because of the finds they are seeing there, it seems that it would have been monumental and opulent, and on top of that, that the people going there are high status individuals. The craftsmanship that's gone into these pieces, that is incredible wealth. To be able to purchase this kind of work, these are rich individuals. In addition to the little stones, the engraved stones, they also found more than 40 women's hairpins, 35 glass beads, probably that came from necklaces. Yeah, lots of people say they've lost things in pools. Lost an earring in a public pool, and I'm still mad about it. I mean, losing one is. I'm reminded of. There's people dying, Kim, but no, it is irritating, and you can buy reproductions of beads. Can you buy reproductions of these beads? Of these stones? I hope so. Look at them. Aren't they glorious? I would love a reproduction of this. Yes. We have a 4th century tomb in Japan that's been found, which contains a national treasure class mirror and a sword. This is some burial goods that have been found, and we have some great images. This was found last November. They can be classified as national treasures, we're told. We've got a 2.3 meter sword with a meandering blade, the largest iron sword made in that period in East Asia. These discoveries indicate the technology of the Kofun period and are beyond what had been imagined. They are masterpieces of metalwork from the period. This is a breakthrough in the research of the period, and which is named for the Kofun tomb mounds built for members of the ruling classes. We can see on this mirror there's clearly this beautiful pattern surface. You can sort of see it being picked out. It carries the designs of 2 more common Daryu mirrors, distinctive in its designs based on imaginative creatures which have mainly been found in Western Japan. This shield-shaped mirror, we are told, is 64 centimetres in length, 31 centimetres in width at most, and weighs 5.7 kilograms. We also have the sword, which is distinguished by their wavy snake-like shapes from which their name is derived. 80 other of these kinds of swords have been excavated throughout Japan so far as burial goods. This one has the markings of a sheath and handle, and altogether it's 2.6 meters long. Although the longest sword discovered was about 85 centimeters. These mirror shields are considered to be tools that would protect the dead from evil spirits. The sword is thought to have been enlarged to increase its power, because its possibility of being a battle tool is low. I wonder if the mirrors. It seems they're saying that it was in fact produced for ritual purposes. Certainly, in the case of the sword, they are saying that it's too long to have actually been used in battle. Thus, it's a burial sword. Thus, ritual purposes, not a drinking game, friends. We are hopping to the 17th century, and we are hopping into the mouth of, that's vulgar, of a 17th century socialite who did not have a good reputation. They found a French aristocrat 400 years after her death who was using gold wire wrapped around her teeth to stop her teeth from falling out. Now, there are pictures of her teeth in her skull with the gold wire clearly shown. As we know, I don't show human remains. She was embalmed in a lead coffin, and her teeth are remarkably well preserved. She did have a dental prosthesis. They found this when she was first excavated in 1988. It was made of ivory. I think her reputation is not necessarily sexy. It's more that she had. We're going to find out. So she has this tooth made from the ivory of an elephant, not a hippopotamus, which was apparently popular at the time. I did not know that hippo ivory was popular. We are told that this provides the first demonstration of a link between diagnosis and therapy on an identified individual using new digital technologies in modern dentistry. But unfortunately, this only made the situation worse because the wires being tightened actually destabilized the neighboring teeth. And so they think that she would have been in quite a lot of pain. And she would have done this because appearance is related to virtue and rank in society. There, Ambrose Paré, who I've actually talked about previously, he has some odd views on what female reproductive units, organs are and how they function, but says that if a patient is toothless, his speech becomes depraved. So this nice smile is particularly important for a twice-widowed socialite with who is controversial and does not have a good reputation. But she does live through a troubled time in history. So rather than her being potentially promiscuous, I think it's because she switches sides. So she's a Huguenot, so she's Protestant faction, fights against the Catholics. She's widowed by the age of 21. Then she's hiding from Catholic forces and their property is seized by the king. Her son then converts to Catholicism, dies in battle at 20. She's widowed for a second time and then lives until 54. So the teeth show that whatever choices she made and whatever things might paint her in a potentially craven light, they are saying that her teeth are evidence that she went through a lot of stress. And the researcher says the following: I hope that it goes a little way towards rehabilitating her. So yeah, I had my teeth were so, I mean, they're not straight now because my retainer fell off. But I started having braces at 7 because my tooth next to my front tooth was in the roof of my mouth behind my front tooth, and my canines were up, like basically in my cheeks. So I had braces for 7 years. I had to have teeth removed. Yeah, it was painful. I'm going to hop in now to an opinion piece. I'm not sure how I feel about doing these. I'm just going to chuck up the headline. I think it's worth reading. The dangerous decline of the historical profession. The article opens as follows: when I received my PhD in history in 2013, I didn't expect that within a decade, fights over history and historiography, wow, even if few people use that word, for a good reason apparently, would become front page news. But over the last few years, that's precisely what has happened. Just look at the recent debates over America's legacy of slavery, what can be taught in public schools about the nation's founders, and even the definition of what constitutes fascism. The interpretation of the American past has not, in recent memory, been as public or contentious as it is now. And I don't think this is this is certainly not solely an American issue. It's manifesting in very particular ways in the States, in ways that I don't fully understand because I'm not there. But I'm certainly seeing that this ideology, these conversations, have caught on over here. We're currently having a bun fight over the fact that it was suggested that Henry VIII was disabled, which to me is just uncontroversial. not at the beginning of his life, maybe, but certainly this is a man who we are told explicitly uses a system of levers and pulleys to get him upstairs. He has essentially a chairlift and wheelchairs. He has mobility problems. Uh, I don't understand why there's a problem with having that conversation. In the same way, I don't understand why it's a problem to have a eye on the legacy of empire, and we don't have to pretend that it was a positive thing. It was certainly, a lot of people got very rich, but there is more to life than that. Kathleen, what is a bun fight? That's a good question. It basically means that people are kind of I'm not quite sure what the origin of that term is. It's essentially people kicking off about it, and I'm not even really sure. It's essentially, the claim is that I think it's a National Trust property saying that Henry VIII was a person with disabilities. That is apparently them going woke. I'm baffled. I am baffled. Um, as it, I quite is is this is this a problem? Like, what do you think? I don't even, I can't even get my, in some cases when somebody is kind of complaining about wokery, I can sort of understand where they're coming from, even though I think they're probably wrong. But in this case, I don't even know what the problem is. Like, why is it an issue to be like this? He needed help. I mean, the vast majority of humanity, considering how long we're living, is just a disabled person in waiting. And certainly, considering the other alternative for many people, we should be so lucky. Calling some people teaching kids about negative historical events will make them sad and unpatriotic. Well, and this is the other, all of these terms have been so weaponized, like history, colonial, patriotism, and I find it very concerning. Um, I've had a. That's an interesting point. If they recognise a king as disabled, it highlights how we currently treat disabled people. I mean, the personal independence payments and the assessments are infuriating, and I don't like any of it at all. But I'm not going to get on my political soapbox. I think that's a very good point. I think that if we acknowledge that this stuff, and that people who are not what people see as being the baseline, and that's the thing, isn't it? That's the problem, is that the issue is that there is an acceptance of, in certain circles, of there being a baseline, and that baseline is able-bodied, white, male, heterosexual, etc., and everything else. Therefore, everything is made in the world for that. Caroline Creda Perez's Hidden Figures is a great example of the ways in which the world is, and safety features are built for men, the average man, in a way that essentially makes them borderline lethal for the average woman. So the baselining is really dangerous and really problematic, I think. History, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but and also new interpretations are fine. Like, let's have conversations. Let's discuss things. And I think the issue is that there are people who are debating what that truth is, and denying brazenly things as well, and it's very disconcerting. I think also something that I'm seeing is that there has been a systematic, I feel, attempt to devalue the humanities as an area of study just generally. I am seeing brilliant departments with brilliant colleagues just gutted because we are telling the government is telling young people that their university education has to be valuable, and they are ascribing value only to things that aren't the humanities. And I find that very concerning. I find that it's happened before, the devaluation of the humanities, the removal of books, those kinds of conversations about what should be presented and taught to children. The one good side that I can see is that we live in a world where this exists. And for the governors and politicians who are trying to put the genie back in the bottle, good luck. Good luck. Unless you are planning on heavily restricting the internet in the way of a kind of totalitarian regime, unless you are planning on doing that, then there are always going to be these conversations happening on the internet, for good and for evil. Like, there are some certainly some conversations happening on the internet that I think are rabbit holes that could be incredibly dangerous. But I think the genie is out of the bottle in terms of these conversations. Anti-intellectualism, yeah, it's this conversation about, we saw it certainly here with it was happening for us back in 2016, at least when we're having conversations about the Brexit vote and Project Fear, and the returning quote was always, we don't want to hear from experts, we've had enough of experts. What can you say about that? What can you say about that? I am a question. Am I blurry? I can't really see myself because it's very small. I don't think I should be blurry, but if I am, I apologise. The rise of the internet in the classroom everywhere plays a part in this as well. I think in two ways. I think that things are very memeable, and there's a propensity with the memification of culture that we lose all nuance, and that's a problem. But sometimes we need to have conversations where we just take nuance to one side, and then we throw something out there, and then we work back from it. And I firmly believe that ultimately humanity and society will right the ship eventually, and there will be tools for our destruction that become tools for our salvation. I firmly believe that, but perhaps that's simply because I am a rabid optimist, for the most part, despite being desperately anxious. Shall we hop into our events and exhibitions? Let's do that. This is and I apologise if I'm going to pronounce this wrong, this is the Aylaeh Museum. I apologise, that's almost certainly mispronounced. This is a contemporary native art 101. This is native art from the 20th century to today, focusing on developments in paintings, sculpture, prints, and multimedia. And I thought I made a note of where this was. I want to say, I made a note and I've just forgotten. I want to say that this is, do you know what, I'm going to put it up because otherwise I'm going to kick myself. This is Indiana, I'm being told. Where's that? Yeah. So we are I apologise for not being able to pronounce this. So there's some incredible, they've got a signs selection of the things that are on display, and they look absolutely brilliant and beautiful. To find them, they are, I'm just going to tell you the location, she says. 500 West Washington Street, Indianapolis. and they are open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and noon till 5 p.m. on Sunday. So do go and check that out. I think that looks fabulous. And also, of course, as with all of these things, let us know what you think if you do make it over there. The Museum of Fine Arts in St. Pete, this is the one I think is Chicago. I made a note in my mind and then forgot it in my face. Nope, Florida. This is 255 Beach Drive, St. Petersburg, Florida. So the Museum of St. Pete is exploring the vaults. So this is images drawn solely from the Museum of Fine Arts collections. This is the 5th iteration of the Explore the Vault series, and it considers the diverse ways in which artists employed works on paper over a period of approximately 300 years. The highly public yet extremely fragile pastel portraits of Francis Coates address the short-lived popularity of the medium in the 18th century. Alternatively, Rembrandt van Ryn's etchings were at times relatively private exercises that explore artistic extremes of light and shadows as well as emotional states. So they're exploring examinations of portraiture, depictions of the body, the printed word, and the landscape, all of which were integral to artistic practices in Europe. This exhibition highlights the multivalent nature of such imagery. Ultimately, these prints and drawings serve to teach, memorialize, advertise, and entertain in both the private and public spheres. And this is on, you can't see it because my face is in the way, this is Explore the Vaults, Images Private and Public, 1500 to 1800, and it is on until May the 21st. And I'm just going to hop back to this one. This is on until March the 12th. So less time to see this one, more time to see this one. The Field Museum has an exhibition called The First Kings of Europe. And again, there are a whole host on the website for this, which is linked everywhere. There are a whole host of absolutely fabulous finds from all over Europe that are definitely worth seeing. And yeah, so it's all these European finds, and I'm not quite sure what discovery or all access pass means. So if somebody knows what that refers to, then please do let us know. I'm assuming that it's some kind of membership for people going there, and potentially will bring down the price. So this is in Chicago, and this exhibition opens on March the 31st, and it requires a discovery or an all access pass. Not quite sure what that means. We have more than 150 objects, including jewellery, weapons, armour, and more, some of which have never been shown together. This is the rise to power of ancient Europe's first kings and queens, to discover how once egalitarian farming communities developed power, inequity, and hierarchy for the first time. Travel back to 5000 BCE to uncover what prehistoric tools, weapons, and ritual sculptures can tell us about life in the Balkans' earliest societies. That sounds very cool. Very cool. And the last one is one that's in London. And if you are in London or in England or coming, I really suggest that you check out Ian Visits, because this website puts together loads of really cool events and reviews locations. So if you're planning a trip here or you already live here, check this out. This is where I learnt that they are doing, once again, the hidden highlights tour of Westminster Abbey. Now, Westminster Abbey is a great time. It's really expensive. So Abbey entry, just entry alone, adult entry is £27. And then on top of that, the hidden highlights tour costs 15. This again, I think we're talking about all access for the Chicago Museum. You can join the Abbey Association for £40 a year. you get unlimited visits, which saves you £27 a visit, and you get extras thrown in for members. Ian Visit also puts up an amazing tip. If you're booking for the 12:15 tour, recommend your visitor tickets to arrive earlier so that you have time to visit the rest of the Abbey first. Make a note of the date and time you are booking before clicking on their website, as it takes you to the normal booking page and you need to click on the date and time again, book normal tickets, do not add galleries tickets, and then add the hidden highlights tour. So this takes you behind the scenes to see areas of the Abbey that aren't normally on display to the public. And whereas you can take pictures in the rest of the Abbey, on this, you can't take pictures. So this is for your eyes only. No picky wicks will be anywhere, or at least they shouldn't be. So it's quite an exclusive tour. But as I said, this is really expensive for an individual visit. I do think that the £40 Abbey Association, particularly if you are planning on coming more than once, is a really good shout. In the same way that if you're coming to one of the historic royal palaces locations, if you're making a trip over here and you're going to come to the Tower and Hampton Court and maybe Kensington, or just to the Tower and Hampton Court, get a membership. Almost certainly going to be cheaper than buying an individual ticket. Sylvia, that is an excellent question. Is the Hidden Highlights tour wheelchair accessible? I do not know. And I promise that in future, I will make sure that I find out about wheelchair accessibility, hearing loops, and other accessibility needs. I should have checked that, and I apologise. And so I don't know if the Abbey tour is wheelchair accessible. But in future, I will be sure that for all of these events and exhibitions, I check what the accessibility is. And if I can't find out because it doesn't state it, I will let you know that too. So that is what I have for you for today. We are once again at an hour and a half. I was sure that I was going to get this down to under an hour, but no. Thank you very, very much for joining me here today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I will be back as usual on Friday with my regular pre-recorded upload, and I will be back here again on Monday to talk about some more history news. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to send me. Thank you very much for that. Marianne, sorry you missed me. It will be on the playback. I apologise. Yes, thank you. It is time for the social glyphs. Lots and lots of glyphs, please. Let's do, as we're looking at the Abbey, let's put some churches. Find some churches, put them. I'm sure there'll be one of those. I think there's one with like a love heart. Put the wedding church up. Why not? As a social glyph. Also, please make sure you're subscribed, that the bell is clicked so that you are told when I'm next going to upload. Find me on the social medias. I am on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Also on Instagram and YouTube for our History After Dark. Follow me in all the places. And let's hang out. Let's have more conversations. Send me links to articles. And thank you all so much for taking this time to hang out with me. And I thank you all. I can see lovely comments coming in. I look forward to speaking to you all next time. But for now, whatever time of day it is for your Monday, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the Monday, however much you have of it. And I certainly hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week, and that the start of your February is going to be absolutely delightful. And that as you go into romantic season of Valentine's Day, you have a lovely time. So that is all from me for now. Take care of yourselves. I look forward to speaking to you all in my next video. Bye-bye for now.